Welcome to our Freedom from Suffering Now blog. I'm Dr. Steve Grinstead. Today I want to share a story. I want to share my story. I want to share something that I've been working on the past week and some insights that I developed that I'd really never put together that way before. You know, like many things, our history is what makes us who we are today. And I'd like to tell you the story of my need to remove a burdensome suit of armor. Emotional armor that was designed by a decision I make when I'm 5 years old. It started out as an exciting thing. I was on a fishing trip at 5 years old with my dad. We were going to a place we called Pauline Creek. Some of Dad's buddies were on the trip with me, and we were playing, having fun, running around, and one of his buddies got a snowball and was chasing me with it, and I wanted to get away. So I made my one bad decision was to jump off the face of a cliff. It wasn't a very high one, but at 5 years old, it didn't need to be. Next thing I know, I'm sitting down at the bottom of the cliff, holding my ankle, crying. I'd sprained my ankle, and I was just feeling really hurt and really scared. And I looked up and I saw Dad coming over, and I started to feel excited. Oh boy, Daddy's going to help me. And he came over and he looked at my ankle and he says, "It's not that bad." And then I kept crying. He says, "Stop crying. I'll give you something to cry about." Now, this isn't about blaming my dad. I love him dearly. He died a few years ago, and I wish he were still here. I would share this with him now. But he wanted us boys to be tough. I was born into a family of 9 boys. My mom had 9 boys in 14 years. No, there weren't any twins. Unfortunately, 2 of them died real near birth. They were premature. But I grew up as the oldest of 7 boys in this household. And at age 5, I'm sitting down crying, and Dad's telling me this: real men don't cry. And I make a decision. I can't be vulnerable. I can't share my feelings. I can't show fear. I can't show pain. And boy, I ran with that. It was the first layer of my suit of armor. It was like a leather jerkin suit of armor. And over the next 25 years, I really transformed that armor. At age 12, when I was exposed to pain pills for an injury I experienced, and then later adding alcohol to pain pills, that was like a Kevlar vest and a Kevlar suit of armor. And then as I kept going, I kept adding more armor. And finally, by the time I was age 28, 29, I had a titanium suit of armor. It was really reinforced. It kept me perceivably safe. I was not allowed to be vulnerable. I would not allow myself to be vulnerable. I couldn't share my feelings. I couldn't share my trauma. I couldn't share my pain. And then I got into a spiritual quest, a spiritual journey. And I'm going to share how I started removing that old archaic suit of armor and replaced it with spiritual tools in a future blog. If you want to learn a little bit more about my story, please go to the link if you're watching this on YouTube and read the remainder of my blog. I also have an article on our articles page there's a link to, and it's called "Making Peace with My Pain, A Journey of Discovery." So that's part of my story, is learning how to manage pain, but it's much, much more than that. It's about how learning to be vulnerable and letting go of the suit of armor can really improve, enhance, and lead to a very exciting quality of life. Unfortunately, little things can trigger that. You know, I remember in the movie that I went to with my godson, Ansar, where we went to see Iron Man. And in this story, Tony Stark, Iron Man, has built many suits of armor, starting with a real crude one, and finally he gets this real modern, really super strong suit and everything. And then he added a component where he injected modules in his skin, and from a remote location he could have his armor fly to him and surround him. Sometimes when I hit what I call a shame trigger, that summons my armor, and there I am again, living out that 5-year-old decision that I can't be vulnerable. I can't show my feelings. I can't show fear. And when that happens in my relationship with my wife, Ellen, it can really cause problems. So please check in frequently, and then coming up soon, I'm going to share the story of how to remove the armor, because I want to help other people who have developed unneeded, unnecessary, encumbering suits of armor and how to replace it in a healthy way. Thanks for joining me today.